Welcome to In Her Voice, a podcast created for women who listen to and live by their deepest wisdom, their inner voice. This was made for you, the woman who feels pulled to more, to lead, to create, to dream, and to be a world changer. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am an inner voice coach. Join me here each week as we explore what it means to reach for your inspired potential, all while honoring your worthiness each and every day. Well, hey there, I'm back. This is Kelly, and I want to say thank you for being here. And if you're wondering what I've been up to over the past 3 weeks, let me just tell you, June was a big month around my house. I now have a high school graduate as a child, and I had a lot of other things going on that forced me to get really clear about how much I was able to do with ease. And I say it like that because in the past, I would have felt horribly guilty about not having a podcast come out for 3 weeks. I would have beat myself up. I would have made it to mean all of these things about myself. And I'm really proud of myself for finding ease in a really challenging month. And it wasn't challenging in a bad way. There was just a lot going on. And so I just want to say thank you to you for witnessing my recovering perfectionism, my healing work as I am in it, because this is proof of that. And I also think it is the perfect week to have this episode on finding fulfillment with Noel. And this was recorded back in January, but I just was looking through my notes and I was like, oh, hello, this is the perfect episode to put out right now because it aligns so much with what I am learning more and more about priorities, about finding ease, about understanding how to start to shift the mindset of no pain, no gain to a mindset of space and love and compassion for yourself and your business and your life and your career, everything that you are in all of the time. And I think that you're really going to love Laura. I think you're really going to love this interview. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Noel is an executive business and personal development consultant who works with organizations and individuals to help streamline business processes while maximizing profits. She helps clients stretch their thinking in a way that opens them up to new possibilities. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur and CEO of her own company, Laura studied and taught personal growth, change management, and leadership for over 27 years while serving in the United States Air Force. She has helped solidify goals and improve corporate culture within government agencies, the Department of Defense, and construction, technical, insurance, and sales organizations. She is proud to serve as a transformational coach, helping clients bridge the gap between feeling stuck and finding fulfillment in life and career. Laura knows how to get results as she guides clients in overcoming the mindset blocks that keep them from realizing their true potential, purpose, lifelong dreams, and legacy. Laura helps her clients gain a new level of self-confidence and become the leader others will want to follow. Implementing a mix of science and psychology, she helps individuals and teams advance their current projects and careers and prepares them to successfully transition on to greater opportunities. If you have ever felt unfulfilled, if you have ever felt overwhelmed, if you have ever felt that the only way to something is through suffering, this interview is for you. And I say that knowing that it was for me too. So let's get right to it with Noel. Welcome, Noel, to In Her Voice. I'm so pleased to have you here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And, you are on here today because your expertise is helping high-performing leaders have fulfilling lives. And just that whole sentence to me, like, gives me chills, like, in the best sort of way, because that's what I want for everybody. But I thought a good place to start today's conversation would be to really dig into what the word fulfilled means. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We say it all the time. It definitely has a feeling, I think, to people.
Yeah.
But let's dig in a little bit deeper. What do you think?
For me, it's a sense of feeling ease and joy and being present and not preoccupied with clutter, really. Clutter in the mind, clutter in your space. But it's fulfillment is that ease and joy and just being present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the word ease so much. But I think when I think of these two things, high performing leaders and ease in the same sentence, they don't always seem to go hand in hand. So, we have this image, this idea of what a high performing leader is, but I think that what you're trying to tell us is that it can be, you can have it all.
Oh, you definitely can have it all. And that's why I got into this work as well, because I'm a high performing leader as well. But I was stuck in the grind, and I was left depleted, even though I was successful. And I find that a lot of high performing leaders are in that same spot. They get to a certain level of success and they're thinking, well, what is it all for? When do I get to exhale? When do I get to enjoy this?
Right. So there's a difference between being successful and feeling fulfilled, because I think sometimes we think they're synonymous. Talk about the difference between those two.
Oh, I can tell you from personal experience and just give you a snapshot in time. There was one point in time where I was at the top of my career and I was a leader in my organization, and I was serving in the military at the time. I was going to grad school, an only child, taking care of my father who was terminally ill. Nobody knew. I got promoted the top 2 tiers the first time around, which is very unusual, and made it to the top 1% of the enlisted force. I couldn't promote any higher. I was running marathons, the first of my family to go get an advanced degree. I was in charge of different organizations and different communities. I was a leader. I was seen as a leader. And from the outside looking in, I looked like I had it all. But on the inside, I was hurting. I was lonely. I would do things myself. I was a lone ranger. And I just remember at this point in time approaching somebody, which was a big deal for me at the time, to ask for help because I had it all together. But I just asked her, when is it going to be enough? When am I going to be enough? I just had this insatiable desire to always achieve more, do more, have more. I always set big goals and would achieve them. But I just lacked that level of ease and fulfillment in my life. There was no joy. I would achieve something and then I would say, well, I should have done it quicker. Or, I should have done this. I never really enjoyed anything, and I didn't enjoy connections with people.
I feel like you're telling me my own story.
Wow.
And I know that our listeners, so many of them feel this. I mean, this is a real feeling, this outward success, outward, I have it all together, inward, why the heck don't I feel good enough? Why am I not happy? Look at everything that I have. Why can't I figure this out? And so what was your next step to understanding what it means and how? And the how, I think, is the key, right?
Yeah.
How to feel fulfilled, how to find that ease and that joy.
Well, once I realized and I just asked for support, just a listening ear, that really opened things up for me because I was on the search for something. I found and fell into personal development, and I just started studying myself and where some of these feelings came from. And that really opened a lot of doors for me, working on my self-image. How specifically, how did I want to feel? Defining that, naming it. I didn't know. I was just in the rat race and I was going. So I never took the time to slow down. I was always at the whim of all of these external demands and pulls on my time that I wasn't even clear with regard to what I wanted. So the first step really was, recognizing, hey, this is a problem. And, when I'm asking that question, when is it going to be enough? When am I going to be enough? Realizing that in my mind, I was never going to be enough. So taking that pause, but really continuing and claiming time for myself so that I could gain a sense of clarity on what it is I wanted.
Mm-hmm. You said one of the first steps that you did was to ask for help.
Yes.
And I think for high performers, there's this feeling that we have to do it all on our own or it doesn't count.
Right.
Right? It doesn't, you didn't actually do it if you had some help. And I just wonder what advice or, encouragement do you have for people who find themselves in that place where they just feel like it's impossible to ask for help?
This might feel like a punch in the gut, and this was for me when I realized it, but when we don't ask for help, we're not living up to our potential. We're playing small.
Ooh.
Oh, doesn't that...
Say that again. We need to hear that again.
When we don't ask for support and help, and we don't let other people in, we are not living up to our potential, and we are playing small.
I just want to have everyone let that sink in. Okay, so tell me more about that.
So we all have blind spots. We all are, however you look at it, whether you look at science or theology, we all are comprised of energy that's flowing to and through us, right? Whether you believe it's spirit or energy, it's a power that's flowing to and through us. So that we have unlimited potential. We have unlimited capacity. The only thing that holds us back is our thinking. We typically will set goals or set a vision for ourselves and our company based on our past performance, our past mistakes, and then we leave it there. And when we don't open ourselves up to other ideas or other possibilities and support, we're kind of stuck in this, we're moving laterally. We're not even moving forward. We're doing more of the busy work. Maybe we're receiving the accolades and we're successful, and I'm saying in air quotes. Mm-hmm. Great. And we can believe that hype, but when there's something nagging at us, tugging at us, and we know deep down that we could be doing so much more, we just don't know what that is, that's a good indication and sign that you really need to seek out a mentor.
I call that feeling the rub.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the rub. It's like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I just know there's more.
Right.
And so what does mentorship look like to someone who's never had a mentor before?
Well, it has to be, I think, being a leader and being a high performer, you also have to learn how to be an intelligent follower. You can't be a leader without being a follower.
True.
Right? And so finding somebody, a coach, a mentor, a mastermind, that's comprised of people who are doing what you want to be doing. So if you are thinking that you have to be the Lone Ranger, doing everything by yourself, and you're just burning the candle at both ends, and you see somebody who's successful but has a wonderful family life or life with their friends, or you see them enjoying life to the fullest and you want more of that, ask them for help. You could start even just by pinpointing that person, just, striking up a conversation, maybe offering to buy them coffee and asking them, how do you do it? And when they give you advice, actually take the advice to heart. And then maybe a couple weeks later, thank them and just tell them what you did with that advice and how it's impacted you. That's a great way to start a mentorship relationship.
I love that. I love that. So when you asked this person in your life for help, when you sort of hit the wall and you looked around and you were like, I don't feel good, what was the advice that they gave you? And maybe I should also amend that to say, now you mentor people, you coach people that are in that same spot. What is the advice, the first step that you give to people?
I'm thinking about back when I made that statement to my friend. I can't recall what her advice was specifically, but I guess I just listened to my own advice, what I would advise somebody else. And I found somebody who was studying personal development, and it just kind of led me in that direction. And I asked, what are they reading? Where did they get that? They were reading, we were actually on a movie set. We were extras in a movie.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And this woman was reading this book, and she was reading quotes, and I said, I need some of that. It was the very thing that I was needing in my life. And so I just asked her, well, where did you get that? Where can I do that? And she introduced me to some personal development. So I was living in Hawaii at the time. And so that's when I took the first step.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about personal development. I am a self-confessed personal development junkie. It's what I do. I seek it. I teach it. It's really, I think, at the heart of my own business and my own life. And I see a lot of people, there are people who listen to this podcast, same thing. They listen to it because when you listen and you get to hear someone like yourself talk about this journey, you feel inspired and you think, I can do that too. Like, I can create a life that is fulfilling and I can feel good enough. And you get all excited and you're listening to the podcast or you're reading the book, and then you set it down and you don't change anything. I think there's this myth that if I just read enough personal development books, then I'm going to figure it out. But I think we often miss the critical step of, like, you actually have to put some of that into action, right?
Absolutely, because it becomes, I like to say, it becomes shelf help.
Ooh.
Because we're not so knowing something doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. Knowing more, we are bombarded with information, through multiple sources. And sometimes it seems like we're stuck even more so, maybe doing less. It's getting more information, gathering data. It's not going to necessarily move you forward. You have to do something with it. It's repetition of a new idea and internalizing the information and taking it into your life and into your daily practice. That's what creates a shift. It's learning to change your paradigm, not necessarily pile your head full of more information.
Change your paradigm. Okay, so we're talking about high performers. I sometimes would classify chronic overachievers and perfectionists into that group. I think a lot of performers are those things. High performers are those things. And so I think that there's a tendency, to say, I'm going to do all of the things and go about personal development in the same way that person might go about achieving a goal like running a marathon. Do you think it's the same? Like, do you think we can do it the same, or is there a better way?
And you're talking about looking at somebody else and what they did to achieve? Well,
I'm more talking about, like, how we decide what steps to take first. Because I think that there's if we try to do all of the things all at one time, we're going to get overwhelmed and not be successful.
Yes. I'd say one step is essential, and that is carving out quiet time so you can hear yourself think, because your intuition, your gut, is guiding you. So what might have worked, the steps that might have worked for somebody else, that may not be where you're guided. So listening to your gut, I never would have asked for support in the way that I did. But I was about to explode, and I had to listen to myself and take action. But it led me to another opportunity and then another opportunity. So I just followed the breadcrumbs. So my journey probably looks very different from somebody else's journey, but you have to, the non-negotiable here is to carving out the quiet time, even if it's going for a walk in nature, where you're just with yourself, so you can hear yourself think and be open to your inner GPS.
Yeah. My practice is journaling. That's how I connect with what I call my inner voice. We're talking about the same thing, or intuition or gut, right? That guidance, that GPS system. I like that, by the way.
Right.
What is your practice? I mean, do you have a specific thing that you do daily to help you stay connected into that wisdom?
I do. I meditate every day, and it varies in length. Sometimes it's 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes it's a little bit longer. Sometimes I'm just taking a short pause, but for the most part, on average, every morning I do a 15 to 20 minute meditation, and then I have my planner out, and I think about my top 3 things that I want to accomplish that day. And whatever intuitively comes to me in that moment, I write it down. And then this was introduced to me, and I love this, is also one of those 3 things, doing one thing that just brings me joy, makes me feel happy.
Yeah. What was it for you yesterday?
Yeah. Oh, yesterday it was going to the spa, but today it's having this delicious vanilla bulletproof tea.
Yum. I love both of those things.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you shared both of those, because I think oftentimes when we think of things that bring us joy, or that we might classify as like self-care, it has to be like this big thing. But it can be just like a cup of tea in front of the fireplace and cuddling with your dog. That counts too, because I feel that, we get into that perfectionist mode where it has to look a certain way in order for it to quote unquote count. Like, yes. I have to meditate for 20 minutes or it doesn't count.
Right.
Do you fall, or have you fallen into that?
Oh, yeah. The all or nothing mentality.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, I might as well not do it because I'm not going to do it right today.
Yes.
And then I feel like I failed, and then I have the guilt. And then I work harder at something else. So there's never any peace of mind in that mental atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, and this is actually a phrase I wrote down before we even got on together today. And this is how my practice works. I try to stay connected to my inner voice. And before every single podcast interview that I do, I will go to my guest's website and I'll just poke around and see. And what I'm doing is I'm seeing what comes up inside of me. I'm reading about you, but I'm seeing what comes up inside of me. And today, the words that came up for me were no pain, no gain.
Ooh.
And can we talk about that? Because I feel like you said that you were a marathon runner. I've done long distance triathlons. I get it, right? I think that there's a mentality that in order to be good enough, in order to feel fulfilled, in order to be reaching our fullest potential, that there's a certain amount of pain required. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's true?
I do not at all. But I used to believe that. And so, I touched a little bit on paradigms which are deep-rooted beliefs in our subconscious mind that govern our habitual behavior. They're our operating system. We don't even realize it's operating most of the time. And some of these beliefs, like it takes hard work to earn money, or I feel guilty having money, no pain, no gain. We get those beliefs from somewhere. We get them from our ancestors and, a whole lineage of ancestry. And we adopt those beliefs as our own. They become a part of our DNA. And then we look for evidence to support those beliefs without realizing we're doing it. See?
Right.
And then, so really, in order for us to shift that, we have to be willing to consider a different way and think in a different way. And if you're tired and you're burnt out, well, how would you rather feel? Do you believe that you have to burn the midnight oil to be successful? Do you like believing that? It starts with just even asking yourself, do you like believing that? What would you rather believe? And slowly you can start to reprogram that old program, that old paradigm through repetition. That's why people use affirmations. I think they use them incorrectly. But you want to have an affirmation around that and get emotionally involved in it and believe it through repetition.
Yeah, I think I want to come back to this affirmation thing. So I'm going to put a pin in that for 1 second. But I think that hard work and suffering and, this idea of that no pain, no gain, like particularly when we think about the people that are celebrated in our culture, athletes, high-powered leaders, CEOs, that the idea of like working yourself to the bone is glorified.
It is. And that just made me think about Wallace D. Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich. I think we have it backwards. We think that the hard work is in the physical doing, but the hard work is in the mindset piece. We hear all the time, success is 95% mindset, 5% doing. But it's the mindset piece that's hard. That is hard. Changing your paradigm, getting yourself to shift a belief so that you start noticing different opportunities around you and you start creating different results. That's difficult. And Wallace D. Wattles talks about that in the context of it's the most difficult work you will ever do. And it's the work that most people will shrink away from.
Yeah. Because it takes like, okay, I think I might be using this word wrong. So if I am, tell me. It takes some chutzpah to say, this is what I'm going to believe.
Yes.
Right?
It does, because your own mind is going to fight you until you actually believe it. And then if you verbalize it to your inner circle, and they don't believe it, they're going to give you a hard time. So you really have to be strong in your belief, or at least, in the process of developing that belief so it has a chance to get roots.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Let's talk about affirmations. Affirmations is a huge part of my own practice and what I teach the people who work with me, my clients. And I just published my enoughness planner. And so what I call them are worthiness reminders. I think we need to remind ourselves of who we are, but I'm really curious to hear your wisdom on affirmations. Why do you think people are doing it wrong?
I think they're saying words that they're doing affirmations because they've been told they should do affirmations. And they're writing them out, they're saying them, they're posting them all over the place. But when they post these affirmations, they become blind to them. They're not engaging with them. And you can say the words, it doesn't matter. It's just like you could read the book. It doesn't matter unless you get emotionally involved with that information, or you get emotionally involved in that affirmation and you see yourself as that person and you experience yourself in your imagination, your mind's eye, through your 5 senses, even imagining what it would be like to be that person. You have to get emotionally involved in it. And through the repetition of that affirmation, even if it's something that you would like to believe about yourself and you don't quite yet believe it, the repetition of that, the repetition of you getting emotionally involved in it, visualizing yourself as that person, you will start to believe it. and it will become a part of your DNA. And before you know it and notice, you'll look back and you'll need a telescope to see where you came from, because your habitual behaviors will start to shift. You will become that person.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I think this is such a great tool. Like I love for people who are listening to this podcast to feel like what we said before, that this is not just about getting more information. This is about taking something with you and putting it into practice, like taking action on something that will create a difference. And so I think that this affirmation piece, is a really good one. And it's easy, hard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's simple. It's simple, but can be challenging. So like, can you talk more specifically about how you get emotionally involved with an affirmation? So let's just make one up. Let's say that the affirmation, or what I would call worthiness reminder, is I am magnetic. That is one of mine, by the way. So I'll just use mine as an example. What are my steps? How do I become emotionally involved with that?
So when you think about I am magnetic, what does that mean in the greater context? Like if it's in regard to a goal, or you're a magnet for everything good, or you're a magnet for whatever it is, wealth or wonderful relationships or joy. Imagine what if you're a magnet, how does your life change? What in your life would shift? So imagine that you are the magnet. And so what are you drawing to you? Mm-hmm. And see it. And
so do you just you would just close your eyes and almost sort of like in a meditative state, just start to picture yourself as a magnet and things being drawn to you?
Yes. So there's a couple of different ways that I would go about doing it. If if you feel like you're visual and you can visualize easily, you could just simply sit in quiet and even just ask yourself, what am I drawing toward me? And you can just see it and imagine it, and the joy. Gosh, how would I feel when I have that? And you could start to get excited about it. But another way to do it, and you mentioned, is journaling. And I find that journaling can create pictures in your mind. So if you ask yourself, what am I attracting to myself? What am I drawing toward myself in my life as a magnet? That sounds awesome. And you start writing about it. Just let the pen flow. But as you're writing, don't pressure yourself to imagine things. You'll naturally start to imagine things as you're writing.
Yeah, I love this so much. And so I think that this practice that you speak of, becoming emotionally engaged with the idea of what you want, or of who you are being, who you want to become, there's a high element of trust, self-trust involved. And how do you sort of practice that trust muscle?
The way I see it is we can either be aligned with fear of failure, or we can be aligned with faith. And neither one of those things you can see. Mm-hmm. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. And it's taken practice when I've noticed my mind going down the path of fear, fear that a result isn't going to work out the way I want, or a situation. I catch myself a lot quicker now. And I say, nope, bring it back, sister. What do you want? And I'll talk to myself like that. Is this helping? What do you want? And I'll shift my focus toward that image of what I want. And I can't tell you the number of times the situation shifted because I shifted my energy. So that trust, you can develop it. It's a muscle, but it gets stronger through practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what you've been saying over and over again. All of these little things, connecting with your inner voice, understanding what you want and how you want to feel, understanding who you're becoming, and really picture yourself as that, or picture yourself having the things that you say that you want, joy and ease, all of these things, that it's the day after day after day, the habit, the practice of doing those over and over and over again, that creates the long-term result.
It does. And then taking the step, I'll add making decisions like that person you want to become.
Yeah.
Because, I could meditate in a cave for 2 days, and it's not necessarily going to manifest in my business growth or relationship growth, but I have to actually do the things that come to my mind's eye, like that come to my intuition, and take that inspired action. It's no different than the GPS in your car. You can set the destination toward where you want to go, but if you're not moving, your GPS will not guide you. It can't give you directions because you're not moving. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing here with your vision for your life or your goals. You have to tap into that inner wisdom and then take the action, especially if it feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This might be a little counterintuitive, but do you think that sometimes action looks actually like resting?
I do. Because I can't tell you the number of times where, and as a type A overachiever, it's something I had to learn, but you really want to push through and finish something. Mm-hmm. And you're not getting anywhere, and your gut tells you to go take a nap or to go for a walk or to just, it looks like go organize a closet. Something where you can just, you're kind of resting your mind. Those are the times when I have the best ideas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I just said that because I feel that way too. I feel really strongly that for the kind of person who identifies as a high-performing leader, who's looking for ease, who's looking for joy, that many times the action looks like inaction, but it's actually not. I mean, it's our inner voice saying, slow down, you have time, you have abundance, you have everything you need, you may take a moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard to stay still, I think.
It is. And we have to be willing to get out of our comfort zone. And you might be thinking, well, what if you're a high performer, you're never in a comfort zone. You're always going, going, going. Well, even if you're like, oh, this is awful, that is your comfort zone. Yes. You might not be happy, but that's where you're accustomed to being. That's your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. I'm glad that you called it that, because I think, and it does look different for different people, but I think that this group of people, high-performing leaders, and I'm pretty sure that 98% of the women who listen to this podcast would put themselves in this group. That sometimes saying no is more important than saying yes.
Yes. Yeah. And the beauty of saying no, and actually the beauty of carving time out for yourself first, putting on your oxygen mask first before you help others. The beauty in that is when you're faced with an opportunity, you'll intuitively know whether that opportunity is in alignment with your highest good and where you're going. Mm-hmm. And you'll be able to say no without guilt. Mm-hmm. But when we say yes to everything, we're usually doing it because we have fear of missing out, or we feel guilty. What if I miss out on this great opportunity? But if you took the time out for yourself to connect with yourself and ask yourself the deep questions, you would intuitively know, and you would feel it, whether this opportunity was for you or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that. Laura, I'm super interested in knowing this. I hope you'll be willing to share. What do you want right now?
I want to be of more service. When I started my journey, when I transitioned from military to entrepreneur, I was giving to causes that resonated with me I thought on in a decent way, but it was really small. And there's nothing wrong with that. We give what we can give. But throughout my journey, I discovered that how many people didn't have access to clean water. And that just threw me through a loop, and I wanted to make a difference. And I started giving deeply and on a big scale, making a big impact. I want to have a greater impact in the world. I care about, the water and education for girls and veterans and the arts. I just want to be of service and make a difference in the world supporting these causes.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And if people want to know more about how to connect with you, how to understand your service to individuals, how can they find you online?
Well, I have a little page that is designed just for your audience.
Oh,
so
great.
So it's stretchintosuccess.com/her voice.
Great.
And what you'll find there, it's a little download with mindset changing techniques that you could download and start implementing. I have workshops and webinars going on all the time. So even if you don't catch a workshop, you can get on the wait list and at least be notified when the next one is, or you can connect with me on a call. So all of those options are there, and they're all free.
Fantastic. And we'll have the link in the show notes and also in whatever podcast app that you are listening this episode. Laura, last question. What is your inner voice asking of you, saying to you these days?
To expect big things. I feel, honestly, I just feel like I'm on the cusp of some really wonderful things and projects in my career and in my life, and I'm just really looking forward to them. That I feel very optimistic.
I love it. I love it. I'm optimistic for you too. Like I feel that for you as well. Laura, thank you so much for coming here today, for sharing your wisdom, for opening your heart and sharing your own experience with us. I am so grateful to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
I hope you loved that as much as I did. I am all in on shifting the paradigm from this belief that hard work and suffering and the no pain, no gain mentality is what is required. I am no longer available for that. And I hope that you will make a stand and say that for yourself and remember that the work of shifting that paradigm, of changing that belief is daily work. Just because we say it once doesn't mean that it's one and done. So I want you to know that I am in this work with you. I am doing it with you because I believe that we don't have to suffer to feel fulfilled. And I hope that you believe that too. This is my reminder to you. You are here on this earth for greatness. I have no doubt. I have no doubt in my mind and in my heart and in my body and in my soul that you are here for a reason. And I want you to hold on to that. And I want you to remember that when things get challenging and when things get hard. And know that you can find ease in your life and that you can love yourself right now, right here, where you are today. You are worthy.